Welcome back. Now, Business Partners says that the recently released matric results have again put the spotlight on the need for private independent schooling at all levels to support South Africa's education sector. They say the challenges provide opportunities for existing and aspiring entrepreneurs to meet the growing need to improve and expand the sector. Joining us now is Jeremy Lang, who is Regional General Manager of Business Partners Limited. Jeremy, thanks so much for your time today. And why do you believe that there is an opportunity?
Yeah, I think if one looks at the recent results, the matric pass rates is obviously a bit of a hype at the moment. And if one looks a little bit deeper, we've obviously got a pass rate this year of 75.8%. But if one looks a little bit deeper, considering the Department of Education stats that they release, in 2003, 1.2 million pupils enrolled. And if you look over the period, they should have graduated this year in matric, and only 600,000 or so, even less than that, passed. So you look at it, an effective pass rate of around 42%, which is quite low, and we need to improve this. So if we consider that the private sector needs to play a stronger role, because education is not just the role of government, it should be the role of everyone. The private sector should and has already come to the party as far as providing educational services, both at the top end for private schools, as well as we've seen a trend in the middle tier private schools and independent schools coming in. And we believe there are opportunities there, both in private schools as well as other services, student accommodation and so on. Creches and preschools, where there are certainly opportunities and certainly is a need at the moment and in great demand.
Okay, so let's stick with the school side of things. As you say, at the higher end, we've got private schools that seems to be generally catered for, and we're seeing some players coming into the middle end. What about the low-cost model? Have any entrepreneurs started to look at that? Yeah,
we have certainly seen a trend in providing schooling at the maybe lower to middle tiers, certainly not at the very low levels yet. But certainly what this does is, while the private sector can certainly start to fund its own education system, it certainly unlocks resources at a government level to provide more for, at the poorer level, better education services.
Okay, getting to post-school, there is a huge number of young people who have finished school but don't qualify or just don't get into some of our higher education institutions. What would you think the opportunities would be for entrepreneurs, for those young people?
Yeah, certainly we look at entrepreneurs and SME owners as the job creators in our society and in our communities, economic communities, and certainly there we appeal to the SME owners and entrepreneurs where they are in the growth phase to try and take on board younger qualified matriculants to join them, and then the skill development starts. So it's getting them in that system and then training and developing them, even attending specialist training schools, whilst universities or colleges they may not be able to enter because of their results. Certainly there are many specialist training schools, from culinary to hotel schools, where you don't need these high-level matric results to enter, and those certainly also get you into the skills development system.
Is the funding available for those entrepreneurs watching now going, I have an idea, but where would I get the funding for it?
Okay, yes, there is certainly funding available. Business Partners is also one of them. We have a 150 million rand educational fund where we fund any businesses in the skills or knowledge transfer industries, which some of these institutions which you mentioned will be part of. So there is funding available. It's about getting that idea right, getting your funding need matched with the right funder. That's always crucial. So there is certainly funding available, yes.
All right, so we'll leave it there. Jeremy Lang is Regional General Manager at Business Partners Limited. Now, the price of Brent crude has fallen below $50 a barrel for the first time since May 2009. Slowing global growth and increased supply has seen the price plummet from the highs of June 2014.
As the price of oil just keeps dropping, the question now is, just how low can it go? For the first time in more than 5 years, Brent crude oil prices were below $50 a barrel. Prices are being hammered by increasing supplies and weaker global demand. Oil markets were down for a fifth straight session, off by more than 10% this week. Prices have halved since peaking in June. Stockpiles continue to mount, with no signs of a cut in production from OPEC.
I think $40 is quite possible. I think at this level, however, you're starting to get signs that some production is being taken out of the US. That might help to rebalance supply and demand somewhat. So I wouldn't be aggressively shorting oil at this level.
After concerns that low oil costs weren't being passed on to consumers at the pump, the price is now dropping. In the UK, major supermarkets have announced further cuts, bringing petrol closer to £1 a litre.
Pre-Christmas, all I was hearing was how great an oil price decline was for the consumer and a boost to the global economy. As I pointed out at the time, there are some should we say, rather unpleasant side effects to this, of course, one of which is possible geopolitical tension generated by some of the oil producers, such as I'm thinking principally here of Russia.
The slide helped turn inflation negative in the Eurozone for the first time in 5 years, and that's likely to further cloud the demand outlook, fueling a worrying economic spiral.
Well, South Africa, Nigeria and Kenya are the largest and fastest growing gambling markets in Africa. But it's unlikely that online gambling in South Africa will take off for the foreseeable future, with the Department of Trade and Industry stalling over the licensing of internet-based operators. Themba Ngobese is CEO of the Casino Association of South Africa, here to help us unpack more on this issue. Themba, thanks so much for your time this evening.
Good evening. Thanks for having us.
Why is there reticence around online gambling in South Africa?
It's an unfair question on operators. It's actually a question that should be directed to the department.
But they have communicated what they are concerned about.
I know. There have been processes and they've just never come to fruition. At some stage they published a bill. It didn't, regulations they didn't go through, and late last year the opposition, the DA, published a bill to be tabled in Parliament, which has not been tabled yet. So we're waiting to see what was going to come out of that. We have actually commented, of course, on the bill as it stands.
And it's been, what, about a decade that we've been waiting for this this legislation to actually start to come through.
The intention was in 2004, when the National Gambling Act was passed, the intention was that within 2 years we needed to have proper regulation for internet gambling. It has not happened.
All right. Well, I mean, we've already got casinos. People have a lot of avenues for them to actually, if they want to gamble, What are the advantages of online gambling?
Look, I think it's easy. It's the easiness of access. It's much easier to access internet gambling because you can do it at home and on your mobile phone while traveling, etc. So, as opposed to brick and mortar casinos, which you have to physically drive and go there and comply with all the rules. So, there are some rules that have to be designed and developed for this particular industry, which happens in your home, really.
Okay.
Yes.
So what sort of regulation would need to be in place? I understand, for example, in countries like the United States, they'd been opposed to it for quite a number of years, but some states have started to put in regulation to open up this particular market.
Look, there are issues around enforcement.
Yeah.
And in fact, you talk about the states, only 4 of the states have actually legalized it. So it's not like it's all over. It's really just 4 of them. But look, I think it's just rules around controls and procedures, because as you can imagine, 13-year-olds these days have mobile phones. So you need to have a way of making sure that though they don't access gambling from their homes, you need to make sure that there are proper mechanisms for players to be paid once they win. Etc. Those type of things have to be thought through. And of course, the fact that it happens, a server could be in America and one is playing in South Africa, you might have to decide that all servers have to be in South Africa as a policy decision. So a number of policy decisions have to be taken before you can legalize it.
And is the industry participating in those conversations about and looking at how to deal with some of those?
They are at a very early stage. As I said, I think the latest bill that was published around, I think it was around late last year, and we commented. So it's only beginning, the rebirth of that discussion.
There had been some concerns that some players might be operating illegally already. If one just goes onto the internet, you get those pop-up banners that say, wanna online gamble, and some people have followed through on that. What is the view of the industry about illegal operators?
I think the first thing that we need to do, which is really responsible for the legal industry, is to warn the public that at the moment, online gambling in all its forms is very illegal. And there are very stiff fines for it. If caught and prosecuted, you could face a fine of up to 10 million or a prison sentence of 15 years, or both such fine and imprisonment term. So it's a very serious thing. But other than that, there are socio-economic negatives that come with playing in online gaming at the moment because it's not legalized.
Okay, give us a sense of what those are.
Correct. For example, if I could touch on one or two of them, because there is no regulation for it, if you win, there is no guarantee that you could be paid. You will be paid because there's no government structure that is going to assist you.
Yeah.
That's the first challenge. But even if you do get paid, you face the possibility that if the authorities do get through to that money, they'll confiscate it because it's actually illegal proceeds. So there are those challenges that you have.
Yeah.
But more importantly, for example, all those operators don't actually pay any tax, any gambling tax. The legal industry as a whole, last year, as of March 2013, paid taxes of 2.2 billion. Now, we always estimate, we say if this illegal industry, which is online gambling now, does about 5% of what we do, they should be paying to government coffers a tax of 110 million, which is obviously not coming through, unfortunately.
Goodness.
So you have those, and then obviously the issue of jobs.
Yeah.
Jobs are not being created because when you do a search and find out who's currently offering these games, it's actually offshore sites. So they'll be all over the world, but South Africa. If
we were to legalize online gambling in South Africa, are there any estimates on the kind of job creation we could see?
That's a very difficult question to answer at this stage. One, government might have to decide, one, how do they want to roll it out. They might have to insist, if you're going to create jobs, they might have to insist that all servers must be in South Africa so that people are employed. But if a policy decision is not made to that effect, then you can imagine there'll be very little in terms of jobs that will be created, because you don't really have to have a site in South Africa to offer it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So a policy decision will be made that if in the interest of creating jobs, then all servers must be here, etc., etc.
All right, we'll leave it there. Thanks for your time
Thank
today. Themba Ngobese is CEO of the Casino Association of South Africa. A look at the day's market movements across the globe is up next. Stay with us.